fraud that it is. It's just this way at the Dim Carnival.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dim Carnival. This is Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about Insane Clown Posse and Insane Clown Posse related ephemera. And this week we're talking about 3 more tracks off of the great Milenko. Such a good album. And this week we're talking about Under the Moon, What is a Juggalo, and House of Horrors, those 3 tracks. And it's an exciting week because we get to talk about the only bad song on the great Milenko. But if you have not yet listened to these tracks, or if you need a refresher, go ahead and take a listen to Under the Moon right now. What a song. Boy, it sure exists on this album. I think it's easily the worst song on the album, and you're free to disagree with me if you like. Let's start with Steve and get his thoughts.
First, I feel like, was this an added song?
Yes.
When they jumped, because I feel like the tape I had didn't have this song on it. Because I remember when I bought the CD, I felt like I had never heard this song before, and I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now.
So Under the Moon and Boogie Woogie Woo. Was there a third one?
The Nedden Game.
Oh, really? The Nedden Game? That's a good song.
Yes,
that wasn't on the first release?
Disney requested the tracks The Nedden Game, Under the Moon, and Boogie Woogie Woo be removed because of lyrics referencing abuse of women, rape and murder, and slaughter of children, respectively. They also asked that Piggy Pie be changed due to lyrics about murdering police officers.
Right.
Oh, okay, that's right. All right. Then it must have been on the tape, because that tape I had Nedden Game. So I guess this song, like when I was just first listening to it on that tape, Maybe I even fast forwarded it then too. It's, I don't know, it's kind of a tired story, to me. I don't know, just not like a fan of what the story is. I appreciate the effort in like making a story like that in a rap song, but yeah, I just don't like it. And the music's kind of boring too. So, I mean, but that's really all I got.
I just think it's so lackluster compared to the rest of the songs on the album, and like the story isn't great, and it's maybe the closest that this album gets to like having a song that's just like, I don't know, I don't necessarily want to say this because I'm probably forgetting about something, but I feel like this song can be read in a way that's like really victim blamey and like not cool just on a level of like the premise of the song. And it's also just boring, and there's no real hook and there's no real memorable parts. Honestly, the only part of I feel like the good part of the song is when he starts saying fuck you in the moon, and then the outro.
Right.
Like, and that's just like them repeating the chorus over and over. And at that part where there's the overlapping, like singing of the chorus and the fuck you in the moon and I'm still here under the moon, and it starts like really laying a bunch of like different like vocal tracks over each other. That's where it gets like creative and fun and good, but it's only for the outro of the song. And to me, it's not worth the rest of the song.
I agree with you, Steve, that it is not a great song. Whereas the other 2 that were not included on the original release are both outstanding. But
yeah,
but I agree with Bill. So what I was thinking, I was trying to find something actually to say about this song when I was listening to it. And so, well, first of all, the story is a guy kills another guy that was going to hurt his girlfriend. and shoots him in the face. And then he has to go to jail. And right before he goes to jail, the girlfriend tells him that she loves him and that they'll always be together or whatever because they're both under the moon. So he's like pining for her in jail, looking out of, I just imagine like looking out his jail cell window, like an old timey kind of
like a cartoon,
like a
almost.
Count of Monte Cristo, like square with a bars with it hanging his arms out. You know, and I kind of picture too, like, well, and I agree with you that the music isn't very solid, and that was kind of what I thought ultimately about it, is that this song I felt like is a little bit ahead of its time. Like, I feel like they're trying to, rather than do anything shocking or anything like exploratory with the content, because it is like you said, Steve, it's just a trope of like a kind of a horror movie kind of idea, not even a horror movie, but just like a story trope, I guess. But what part, when it gets to the part that Bill was talking about, where there's a lot of different layers, and if you listen to the components of the music, there's an electric guitar, there's the like riding hi-hat, which I associate with like south, this like the southern like Cash Money, I don't know why. And then the vocals of them like singing, actually trying to sing something like a little bit emotional. I feel like that's something that Violent J probably was always trying to want to do more of in this music. And so you hear him singing more and more. And I was going to look back at my notes, but I can't remember what song it was on one of the EPs. And I remember that there was just a lot of singing, and that Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope were both singing on that track. So I feel like they're kind of working towards something where they're trying to be a little bit more artistic. And be a little bit more versatile with like how they are as performers, and it just doesn't really like it's just not really solid yet. Like they're not really there yet.
So this is the first time I've ever given a close listen to this song. I've never paid close attention to this song on the times that I didn't just skip it, and I could have sworn, like, if you had asked me what the song is about, I would have thought it was about him either being in love with or making a deal with a witch, because my mind made a more interesting song out of this song than the song actually is. Because I was thinking it was like a Pumpkinhead situation where like he murdered someone for an entity or a creature or a sorceress that he was in love with, and she put a curse on him. And that's sort of what the song's about, that he killed someone for someone he was in love with and now he's cursed, but in a way more realistic, like actual way, a legal way. But I thought it was like, oh, I'm in love with a cursed person, or I am cursed, and I'm only allowed to interact with or meet the person who's the object of my affection when we're both under the moon. Because I mean, I'll forever love you, even if you're doomed. We'll always be together because we're both under the moon. Like that. Didn't
he say although you are doomed?
Yeah, but the you is if you're not listening to the song, and even if you are listening to the song, you may not catch that the hook is not from Violent J, it's to Violent J. The hook is what she said to him the last time they saw each other. But
oh God, I never even got that out of it. Yeah. I'm so confused. I'm glad I said something.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm not. I don't want to even know this about this. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, so I made up a more interesting song than the song actually is.
That actually is a lot more interesting. I also misremembered. This is a song that I definitely always skipped, and I remember.
Yeah, you did.
I remember when the when the Islands release came out, and I just skipped ahead to the new tracks because I had already been listening to the Great Milenko nonstop for 3 months or whatever. And this was the first one in the track order, so this is the first one I got to, and it started, and I was like, oh, this is what we waited for? Oh, no. And that's what I thought you were going to say earlier. This is the closest thing to this is really just like a mediocre, like, it's not bad. It's fine, But it really
It's just
seems
there.
small compared to the rest of the album.
It's just nothing. It's just there.
Even
And it's right at the midway point. So it's like you've listened. Maybe this is like the popcorn match. Like this is the come down. This is the come down song. And in that respect, perfect, because the first 7 songs are such bangers, and like the last like 8 songs are such bangers that you just need like something in the middle.
I mean, maybe it's
like,
that side A thing. Like it's they want to have a little fade out, whatever.
And boy, I'm gonna fade it out. I'm never gonna listen to this song again. Like if I ever listen to this song again, it's just because I let Great Milenko play and I wasn't paying attention. Like this song, like you said, it's not a bad song. I like the outro a lot. It's just so nothing compared to the rest of the album.
Like rather than say nothing, I feel like it's thin. Like it's got a thin sound. The story's thin. Like it just doesn't have that rich. What's that?
It's filler.
It's filler. Unfortunately,
it's the 80%. It's the 80% other stuff in the McDonald's beef patty.
But the thing is that it's the only reason that we're talking so much shit on this song is because everything else is so fucking good.
Well, I think that even if this track existed on like the Ring, like the Tunnel of Love or Terror Wheel EP, like we still wouldn't really have much to say about it. It doesn't stack up to the rest of this era of ICP stuff.
Right. It's thin.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the next song. We're talking about What is a Juggalo, and this song is a little bit different than I remember, but still great. Starts with all of the sound clips that Steve and I didn't know until we couldn't easily pinpoint them until we started doing this podcast. I mean, we would catch a few of them as we would go back when we were actively listening to ICP the first time, and oh, hey, that's where that's from. But now I think we could pretty like quickly and easily identify like these clips that are coming.
You don't know me.
I do.
So I'm
that Juggalo.
I thought that I might take on the challenge of sitting down and listening and then noting every single sample.
Let's do it.
No,
Oh.
it's way too hard.
No.
Way too much work. I thought somebody surely would have done it.
They did.
They did? I wasn't able to find it.
Well, Born with a Hatchet and a Juggalo Face is from Dead Body Man. And Dead Dirty Carnies, Dead Juggalos. We all know what that's from.
The show must go on.
I'm that Juggalo. Get the fuck up. Get the fuck out of here. That's the Get the fuck up, get the fuck out of here is a Eazy-E sample.
That's right. From Easy Does It.
I'm the Juggalo G is from Murder Go Round. Shut your ass up and let the Juggalo sing. We know what that's from, right? Yes. It's from Wagon Wagon. And it's really just looping those 4.
Is it really? I know that it loops them, but I think there are other ones in there.
Probably. And also it's like I'm just a Juggalo and Juggalo. There are a few other ones, but those are the 4 main ones. Because those are the 4 ones that are front and center. And then it drops into the music, and the music is super different than what I remembered. But it's great. It's awesome. And this is a song about, at this point in time, ICP had been getting asked incessantly, what is a Juggalo? So they decided to make a song about it. And I think the great part about this song is that in the chorus, ICP reveals that they also don't know what it is.
Okay, that is the third note that I wrote. ICP doesn't know what a Juggalo is.
Now,
I love that. It's amazing.
In 2018, they have a better idea of what a Juggalo is. But this is great that the defining song about what a Juggalo is does not define a Juggalo. He's all of these things. He's none of these things. But even if we don't know, a Juggalo is down with the clown and he's down for life. Yeah.
I feel like maybe. Do you guys think it might be appropriate for us to just tackle this song like paragraph by paragraph?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so let's talk about. Here's the first description of a Juggalo.
Wait, hang on. is the I figured you wouldn't understand in the intro, or is it later on?
I figured you wouldn't understand.
The sample that goes, I figured you wouldn't understand.
Oh, I don't know what that one's right after he says, "Get the fuck up, get the fuck out of here."
Okay, so let's just tackle that right now. I always thought it sounded like John Travolta. I don't know what anyone else ever thought about it, if they thought about it at all.
I never thought about it at all.
Never once, not a single time.
I heard it.
Wow, I spent a lot of time thinking about that sample because to me it sounded like John Travolta so much. Apparently, this is a sample from the movie Scarface. Yeah. All right. So
I saw Scarface once.
Yeah, it's not a good movie. It's the under.
Yeah, why does everyone like that movie?
I think there's probably a big crossover between Juggalos and Scarface.
Oh yeah,
the movie.
Oh, definitely.
Which
you're not allowed to buy a blacklight Joker's card poster unless you also buy the Scarface poster, or can show proof of ownership of a Scarface poster.
I need to get more blacklight posters.
Yeah,
I need to get any blacklight posters.
You smoke too much weed.
Well, good luck with that.
If you're seriously thinking that,
blacklight posters, man.
Maybe he's moved on to mushrooms, Steve. You don't know. But I can recommend maybe like a leopard or maybe like a Lamborghini Contact.
Contact?
Countach.
Countach. So the first
foreign?
So the first Juggalo, he's going to take off all of his clothes. He's going to walk through the streets winking at freaks with a 2-liter stuck in his butt cheeks.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not a good idea to do this.
No, this is great.
Why?
I also want to point out that this song is like one of the most annotated songs for ICP on Genius, but the annotations are laughably literal.
He doesn't care. He'll walk around with a soda bottle stuck in his butt crack.
Almost. He gets butt naked and then he walks through the streets winking at the freaks is annotated with this bit. The Juggalo has so little regard for everyone else that he is willing to walk around completely naked with a giant plastic bottle stuck in his backside, as a later line points out. Or the next line, or you could have just highlighted that line also and annotated all of it.
Right.
I do like the idea of someone trying to put a weave in his nut hair.
To make it, like, do you think long, straight? Is that a straight weave? Is it like a curly? What are you thinking?
I was thinking
What are you picturing? Yeah, straight. That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, like the peanut butter solution.
Like Cousin It.
Yeah.
Yeah, peanut butter solution. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a movie for kids and about kids, and it's about a kid getting really long pubic hair all the way down coming out of his pant legs.
I don't want to see that movie.
Isn't that movie like super terrifying though?
Yeah.
It's like a really scary movie. They used to show it to me in elementary school when I went to a Christian elementary school.
Wow. All right. All the time.
Yeah. They made us watch
this
it all the time.
Is. They're giving you an idea of what hell is like, or limbo. You're Catholic, right?
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, what's great about this annotation for Shaggy 2 Dope's verse here, or segment here, is that this person gets the lines wrong, because it says that Juggalo is the type of person who could possibly put a woman's weave in his pubic hair and tell her that she smells. Why? Because he simply doesn't give any fucks whatsoever.
Oh yeah, that's not correct.
Yeah. He's I do though like the idea of someone listening to this and be like, oh, he's going to take a lady's weave out of her hair, put it in his nut hair, and then be like, you smell.
I mean, that's funny too. It's fine with me.
It is funny.
I really like that line when he says, "You tell her that a butt stinks," and all that.
Yeah, that cracks me up. I was going to mention that too. I like how
Shaggy's amazing in this song. Clearly.
Shaggy is amazing in this song and the next song. I feel like some of these qualities are really attainable. Some of them are difficult to attain. Like, I probably wouldn't walk down the street with a soda bottle in my butt crack, but I might get.
Never know.
I might be one of those like huggy cry drunks
I think that this line, I think that he drinks like a fish, starts hugging people, picking up fights, and then hugging again. I think that's probably the most accurate, the most realistic. What is a gigolo in the whole song?
How do you guys feel about the supposition that one of the perhaps common thematic elements of juggaloism is some kind of an emotional difficulty, like struggling with the network or the family like dynamic is built around acceptance and tolerance, right? Like that, that there's a place for you here. And so to me, this verse makes me think of a person who, the times in my life when I was like that and my friends were like that was when we were like trying to figure out who our real friends were, like in party situations and dealing with struggling between like being young and careless and like trying to develop more like complex relationships and dealing with more complex emotions. I don't know if that's a common experience for people.
I think it is.
Yeah, and so that's what I think of when I think of later I'll bring up how I feel like it's interesting to me that they continue to write songs for like young people. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's just one of those things that like when you're in your late teens or maybe early 20s and you just start drinking and you get all emotional when you get drunk and you're happy and sad and angry and all of that's just kind of like something that is a common experience among juggalos, is like having some displaced, unsettled emotions or whatever because of the situation that you're in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that so much of juggaloism and Insane Clown Posse fandom is built around representing the outcast, and I think that people who have emotional needs and emotional problems tend to be more outcast than others, and people who have a dysfunctional home life and people who don't have a place to fit in, so they act out in other ways. That's a pretty good catch-all of that, because those people are often stigmatized and marginalized and pushed out. So ICP recognizes that, and they're like, look, we don't know how to deal with our emotions either. Come join us.
Yeah, and they're like, they're like, shit, this is happening again, fuck. But they are still, that's still their friend, They're not like saying, oh, fuck this guy, get him out. They're like, no, he's one of us.
Right. I also really love Shaggy's delivery of a fucking lunatic. Yeah, do you guys ever think about the imagery of someone with a rope tied to his dick and then jumping out a 10-story window?
I mean, with the sound effects.
For this, yeah.
Oh, I know. I always, I imagine it very clearly. The same image of, it's like a cartoon clown falling backwards off of the Empire State Building with his flappy blue striped, pants going in the wind with a rope. And then right before he hits the ground, it just rips the whole thing off. And all you see is like the shredded tear of his pants, the front of his pants, with like a little bit of blood on the ends or something like that.
So it rips his dick off in your vision of it.
I mean, it has to. That's what that ripping sound is, right? It rips that dick right off. Juggalo doesn't care, man. He doesn't need that as long as the nuts are still there.
Steve, do you have a vision in mind? Because that was very good.
Yeah, I thought of just a regular dude, and I did think about I didn't think of the Empire State Building, but I did just think of like a guy in a high rise just like jumping out, and so
does he jump out forwards or backwards?
Forwards. That's what's funny to me. He's like diving.
That's good.
What happens to his dick?
I don't usually let it go that far. Because I kind of just lose interest in it. and a lot of times to me with some things that are funny is about the line and like getting really deep about hugging people when they're drunk. and it was funny because to me the only thought I ever had on that was that I thought it was funny because they're just picking everything that everyone hates about someone. and they're saying that's what a juggalo is.
All the things you don't like.
And everything you guys said is right. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that I disagreed with anything you were saying. It was just like, in my mind, I had it so simplified as like, haha, yeah, everyone hates that person. And yes, haha, if you drink, you've been that person. And so it was just like, I never just thought it that deep I always just thought it on the surface of, yep, assholes. That's what a juggalo is.
I like it. We've gone quite some time between the first time ICP interrupts their own rapping, but boy, is it worth the wait, because this is possibly the finest that they've ever interrupted each other, because Violent J drops one of the best lines in the history of hip-hop, is saying that someone will eat Monopoly and shit out Connect 4, and then Shaggy starts to rap his follow-up line and can't even get through it because he has to call out Jay for his whack line.
Yeah, and even the music stops.
And I also like Violent J's delivery of like, don't worry about my shit, just rap, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. So there's so many more things. So one thing, a juggalo will fucking walk straight down in a rich guy's neighborhood and beat down anybody that's rich. No worries. He's going to mess.
Walk through the hills, which I think is a much more amazing visual if you take it literally. It's just like a Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett,
just like a one hand punch a rich guy straight into the ground. Just his top hat left on the surface. He's probably gonna mess with your food.
Yeah, he's gonna dip his nuts in your soup. But is it bloop or gloop?
Gloop is what I always thought.
You know, I always said bloop, but listening to it, I think it's gloop.
I also always said bloop, but it definitely is gloop.
Yeah, I liked bloop. But yeah, it's gloop.
Because that's the sound your nuts and soup
it would.
Makes. Well, if it's chowder, it would make gloop.
I just always thought gloop would have been the sound. I never even considered.
If it's like a bisque or a minestrone or like Italian wedding soup, like it would definitely be bloop because it's a thin soup. But if it's like chili or like chowder, it's definitely gloop.
Gloop is the sound that your dick makes when you drag it through the soup. Gloop.
No, see, I disagree.
Bloop is this when you right? You're just dipping them in. Dip.
Yeah, and it'd go gloop.
Yeah, just dip them. Gloop.
I didn't even know bloop was a word.
It's nice. Gloop isn't a word. They're onomatopoeia. I like the idea that Steve was definitely like he was sure that gloop was a word, but he was incredulous that bloop might be a word.
Gloop is a word. It's what the sound that you make when you dip your nuts in soup.
Bloop is more of a word than gloop because it's gloop singles.
Isn't gloop? Wasn't that a Nickelodeon product?
It has gack.
I feel like gloop was a thing.
Maybe. I remember gack. So if baseball players hit bloop singles and that's a known thing, so is bloop the sound that your nuts make if you toss them up and get them
you whack them
just out of the reach of the person trying to defend the soup with their spoon?
Right, and then if that guy falls down instead of catching it, then it's a glooper.
You have to win one for the glooper. It's our worst episode. But he will further mess with your soup by busting a nut in your macaroni. And the background sound effect, I think, is what really makes that line.
I feel like there's a lot of great things that are happening in the background. So if you haven't listened to
this is a very thick
like
song.
specifically
Like
go back and listen to just the background. It's worth it.
Yeah. I also love this is just a great little couplet because he ain't a phony. Like these two lines are fucking brilliant because the hallmark of someone who isn't a phony is someone who'll just walk up in a jacket.
All right, that's keeping it real.
You know what, fam? I gotta keep it 100. But finishing that up with, and watch you sit there and finish up the last bit because you're a stupid ass dumb fucking idiot. Like, it's so good. It's so good because like there's so many ways that could have ended, and I just like remember like me listening to it for the first time with like Steve looking at me. Because, like, the payoff is so good. Like, there's so many ways that could go, or they could just talk about something else. But instead, they're like, well, a Juggalo is real because he'll just jizz in your macaroni, but then you'll eat it because you're a fucking idiot.
He really brings it home. I'm with you. I wasn't sure where we were going on this journey, but he really brought it home.
I also like that Shaggy then immediately calls out Juggalos for not being very educated.
or employed.
Yeah.
Well, got a job.
What he's saying is that a Juggalo is an entrepreneur. He's a self-starter.
I think he's really saying that they're dumb putzes, and that's okay.
He's not a dumb putz.
Right, because he's got a job, but his job is to work for himself, scratching his nuts. Yeah.
Well, if I could get paid doing that.
Actually, yeah, he must be a smart fellow.
Yeah.
He's worked out that arrangement.
But then the next bit is something that really brought it all the way home for Steve and I, because they put their pro wrestling fandom right out on Front Street, and they talk about being Juggalos or Hulkamaniacs who power bomb people onto thumbtacks, and he'll sabu your mama through a coffee table. God! Little Joey Styles shot out in the background there, so that's good. But yeah, just like name dropping Hulkamaniac, name dropping Hulk Hogan and Sabu in the same line on a Disney record. He's pretty great.
So yeah,
I like the way they say he power bombs motherfuckers in the thumbtacks too.
It's very smooth.
Yeah,
this is the highlight of the song for me. This is everything about it, and I especially because I had seen Stranglemania right before this album came out, or right around the same time. I can't remember when Stranglemania came out.
Around the same time.
It was right around the same time. I just remember thinking, like, I had never conceived of a person being power bombed into thumbtacks until Stranglemania introduced that to me.
And also, the first Stranglemania, I believe, ends with Hulkster in Heaven, correct?
Right. Yep.
And if you never heard Hulkster in Heaven, please look it up, because it is off of Hulk Hogan's first and to date only album that he put out with the Wrestling Boot Band, because Hulk Hogan has been playing bass since he was like a teenager. And he sings a tender ballad about a Hulkamaniac who died. And it's going to be okay once Hulk Hogan gets to heaven. But we're still waiting.
Eventually, he'll get there. It is amazing. Yeah, and the video that goes along with it is great.
Yes.
I really like that they're seemingly like, naming different cities or whatever and saying like people out here are Juggalos, people out here are Juggalos, but then at the end it's just like everybody. We're all Juggalos, and that seemed pretty cool. But it made me I was thinking about this when I was walking my dog this morning. Do you guys know if they ever specifically mentioned Dallas? Because I know, Bill, you talked a lot about how Jay mentions in the book that they went down to Dallas and in promotion for Riddlebox.
So yeah, it's a little bit surprising that they don't name drop Dallas, because they talk often in print and in interviews about the great love that Dallas showed for them and the importance of them turning Dallas into Juggalos. But yeah, no, I don't think they've ever name dropped a single goddamn Dallas.
And maybe they will when they, who knows? Because we stopped listening to it. So
yeah, we got a lot of ICP songs to get to still, so this could happen. But to date, they haven't.
So speaking of getting to ICP songs, you guys ready to move on?
Hell yeah! So we're gonna talk about House of Horrors, and if you haven't listened to that song, get yourself a little refresh right now. Guys, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm gonna put it right out there. I think this might be my favorite song on the Great Milenko.
Outstanding, man. It wouldn't be a bad choice. It's
hot damn. Did I not remember how good this song was? Hot damn. Like, And I made a joke about this before about how many times in Halls of Illusions and House of Horrors are all sort of the same song. And it's not necessarily incorrect, but boy, howdy, this one's like head and shoulders above both of those other two songs in my book. Like, I love Halls of Illusions, but House of Horrors just blows it out of the water for me.
Yeah, this song's incredible.
This is another song about an attraction in the Dark Carnival. It is a House of Horrors where Violent J and Shaggy apparently live. This might be their house. This might be where they live in the Dark Carnival. Because they're both in there. There's a couple that goes into the House of Horrors there. So they're welcomed by a carnival barker who promises excitement, suspense, but not Nell Carter inside the House of Horrors. And the couple gets inside. It's very dark. They get lost, and then they run into Violent J, who scares them with Steve.
Yeah. I can't do that.
It's dark. They get lost. They're very scared. And what I like about this song, in addition to everything about the song, is that the gentleman is much more frightened of the House of Horrors than the woman is throughout. She is the one who's like, all right, come on, we're going to get through this. And he's like, meh. So they first run into Violent J, who scares them with Ryan.
Wah!
That's right. Which is a scary thing to hear if it's all dark and all of a sudden there's a fat clown with white face paint and dreadlocks jumping out at you, probably waving a cane with a skull on
and
top
also glowing.
Oh, yes. We'll get to that. But he does a lot of really good sounds in this song, and he's also like just fucking on fire the whole time. But like the okay, now I dare you, like, is really but this is also another line that really stands out to me from the first time that I was played these tracks by Steve, is the I'm twisted, I'll cut your finger off and stick it in your butt. Glue it shut.
Yeah.
Steve, as you can imagine, loved that line.
Oh, it was great. I still like sing along with that part. I love doing that.
That's it. None of the rest of Great Milenko, just that line.
No, just that line.
Yeah, man.
But one of Violent J's most ingenious bits on this album is the, you know what that means? It don't be nothing. but it scared you because people don't be doing that shit. But me, bitch, I'm all about it.
And then everybody in the back, so great.
Yes, that's so good. But then he says to turn the lights off and see that I'm glowing. I never really noticed that line before, and it's such a throwaway line, but it's so good. And that's how good everything on this album but Under the Moon is, where even the throwaway lines are like, oh my god.
Yeah, man, when he does the thing, like the first time I heard that, I just lost it. Like, love that line. It's one of my favorite lines in the whole song. I just feel like it so well encapsulates the charm and the humor and the scariness. Like he packed it all into one line to like really give you. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a pretty outstanding, like simplified message or whatever, right? Like they don't give a shit about anything. It doesn't make any sense. It's fucking weird and it's scary because you're like, what the fuck? Like, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, like they so understand their sense of humor. They so understand the Dark Carnival, but they also understand that, like, haunted houses. Like, just stupid stuff is scary when you don't know what it means. Like, what does that mean? Like they could just be like a little kid standing in a room and you're like, oh, I don't like this.
So as much as
the horrors come from within him.
I was going to ask, I was going to ask you guys that exact thing is, what do you guys think the chorus means?
The horrors come from within Violent J and or Shaggy. Like the House of Horrors are the horrors that are inside the Wicked Clowns.
And so they're just subjecting people to these horrors, like, for their pleasure.
Yes.
Because that was because
this is one of the attractions where the people who come into the House of Horrors aren't specifically bad people, and they also don't specifically die.
Right. Well, it's implied that he's going to die. He's not going to survive, but they let her go.
Right. And maybe he is murdered because of his cowardice, and she is freed because of her bravery.
I mean, but the carnival barker at the beginning says, he lets him in, and the guy says thank you, and he says, don't worry about it, your death says enough. Like, we're letting you in here because we're gonna kill you. Like, that's what we're taking from you. Like, that's why we're doing this, so we get to kill you.
Yeah. But again, they don't specifically die, and they're not specifically in there just to be murdered, unlike most of the other attractions. Because they're fine with at least one of them getting away.
Right, I think it's more just about scaring them, like torturing them.
Yes. And it's not even really torture, they're just freaking them the fuck out. And again, it's just a haunted house of like, I don't know what like, it's a guy drinking beer in his underwear and being loud and playing Atari. Like, that's the scariest thing. Like, but I do like when Shaggy busts in and he's extremely loud and his vocals are distorted. So again, they have to interrupt themselves, and Violent J has to tell Shaggy to keep it down, and he apologizes and then changes his tone and the sound of the song up and says that Violent J almost had to ground him because he was too loud.
See,
which is an interesting dynamic in their relationship.
It's like the voice didn't sound like Violent J to me, so I never thought of that way.
It's just straight up Violent J.
Wow. I thought it was like, for some reason I thought it was like his dad. Like that.
I mean, I think that's probably the implication, but it's Violent J.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't recognize that. I'm curious to go back and listen to it, because it just never occurred to me that could be Violent J. I thought it was, because he says I'm gonna get grounded. Like, I thought he meant that it actually is his parents, that he's a loser, that lives in the basement of his parents' house, but he's playing Mortal Kombat on his Atari. Apparently, so he's got a. No,
he's playing Combat.
I just thought that was that was short for Mortal Kombat.
He's playing the popular Atari game
Never heard
Combat.
Of it.
You're a tank in the middle of a screen, and you spin around and fire in like a little maze. Anyway,
it's not good.
Anyway, Shaggy also has a very brilliant and inspired couple of lines where he goes, "I'm a phantom. Listen to me." Ah.
I love that sound that he makes. I wish he would do that more often. He needs to do a whole song where he's a phantom.
Yeah. Also, he lies about having a nickname.
Yes, there was so much in this song that I loved, and I'm like, just thinking back when I listened to it for the first time, like things that stood out like super big was the and a couple other things, but that line is like, did you know that? Yeah, no, I didn't. I was lying. Like that made me laugh so hard when I first heard that. It was just like, that is just, they put such a perfect burn in a song, and I just thought that it was the most brilliant thing. Like, I was so conflicted when I first listened to this album. I don't know if conflicted's right. Just like I was pulled in so many directions. Like, is it scary? Is it funny? Is it, I mean, clearly it became funny pretty fast, but there were just so many songs where they sounded serious, and especially on side one, if you're listening to it as a tape, was that a phantom in the background?
I think it was.
Also, before Steve and I knew that their names were Joe and Joey, like, I'm so scary they call me Joey Terrifying. It's just funny.
I didn't know either at this time. I still didn't know their real names, I think, until after, later.
Nice.
But he does, I don't know if you guys noticed this, he stretches the guy's nuts for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and flicks him up his butthole.
Provides. And not only do his nuts stretch, but he can stretch other guys' nuts as well. So that maybe that's his, manifesting that power in a different way.
I don't know how bending someone over and tying them up to a pole makes it easier. Like, I don't know how the logistics of that are working out. But I'm not going to think about that one very much. But let's get to one of my favorite parts of my favorite song on the Great Milenko, which is the most amazing beatboxing of all time, combined with an incredible voice what I think is Shaggy 2 Dope, but I can't possibly be certain. I represent E-Course. Yelling down. But it's great because you get a little and some good.
That was good, you guys. You both did a good job there. I'm not going to try.
E-Course is a city in Michigan, a very small city, and Inktown is, of course, a colloquial expression and nickname for Detroit, which is not often used.
Didn't know those things. Didn't even know what those words were.
I thought that
I
he
didn't
was
either.
saying I represent Igor.
Yeah, you know. He sounds kind of like Igor.
Yeah, it does. But it's not. It's a different word. And then they're talking about eating poop.
Oh, but it's so great. I love the way he says, "I'll make dinner for you all," and then with the mumbling and "I'm possessed too."
So that actually is what he says there, mumbling, is Violent J, not Shaggy 2 Dope's voice, but Violent J's voice, played in reverse. And he says, "I'll kill ya, I'm gonna," which I don't know what that's from or whatever, but there's a little, I found a clip, you can just look on YouTube or whatever, of House of Horrors reverse, or I think that's what I searched for. And it plays the clip forward and plays the clip backwards so you can clearly hear it if you're interested in that.
Awesome. I think it's just he recorded it and then they reversed it. I don't think it's from anything. I think it's just...
Yeah, what I'll say about that is it sounds fucking awesome the way he goes like whatever. It sounds so fucking cool. Just to be like, I just picture him there, you know, like he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do, like, I know you just took a horrendous shit in my toilet. Thank you. Don't flush it because I'm gonna use that to cook you supper." And then right after delivering that line, his head whips back and his eyes roll up in the top of his head.
Yeah, the "I'm possessed too" is such a throwaway line. Like, "Oh, turn the lights off. Look at that. I'm glowing. All right, put it back on." Like, it's so. This song's just so perfect. It's great. I love it.
So I really feel like, again, I feel like I talk about the music a lot on most of these tracks, but this one is, I just really want everybody, I know we've said this a lot on the podcast, Jay says it on his book, that you really owe it to yourself to listen to this song with headphones on. It is...
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why this is my favorite song on the album, because it's so dense and so good, and the music is just amazing, and everything's just good.
It's got a really creepy ambiance. The music is just, it's really well crafted to be almost like a score to this mini horror movie of them going through these different scenes. So I feel like it's pretty crafty, pretty well executed, that there's almost the superficial sound, and it changes from like room to room, like you were saying. Even Shaggy's vocals change, kind of indicating like a different source where the sound is coming from, like almost through a speaker versus the real person or whatever. So anyways, they do a lot of that kind of superficial stuff that lets you know what space you're in when you're listening to it, like what room you're in. But then there's an underlying melody of the song and the chanting that goes into the chorus, which is a completely different tone from the music, like from the verses, I meant to say. So yeah, I think it's a really cool, like the parts between the words are really interesting to listen to, and the transitions and all of that. Like, it's a really well crafted song.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And like you said, as the skits go on, the guy gets more and more scared until finally in the last one, he's like cowardice is fully come out, and he's like, "Honey, I'm scared," and the woman like takes charge. I picture her, you know, grabbing his hand and pulling him away, like, "It's this way, come on."
Yeah, I love it. I love it all. That's the end of our 3 songs for this week. Does anyone have any further thoughts before we give our assignment for next week?
No. Sugar Tits. I mean, I feel like we gotta mention Sugar Tits. Is this the first mention of Sugar Tits?
Yes, definitely.
So, and I feel like Sugar Tits is an actual thing.
Yeah, it's as made famous by Mel Gibson.
Well, I don't get that joke, but thank you.
It's not really a joke.
Oh, because he says that he calls her sugar tits in that horrible voice message.
Yes.
Well, way to go, Mel Gibson. You're a real creep.
Yeah. You ruined everything for us.
Yeah, sugar tits.
Jesus. Sugar tits.
Jesus. Make it more bloody.
And again, that's Deb Agoli from the Gorbo Girls as the voice.
Doing an excellent job.
So next time we're going to talk about Boogie Woogie Woo, the Ned Game, and Hallelujah.
Can I just admit something to you guys? I did it last week. I'm doing it again. I may have listened ahead.
That's okay.
And
I figured you had.
Oh, Nelly. We got some good ones.
I think I'm the only person that's not listening ahead at this point.
You should be very excited, Bill, as should our listeners. Anybody that's going to join us next week. Got a great group of songs to listen to.
Hell yeah. And then the following week, we will wrap it up. But next week, Boogie Woogie Woo, the Ned Game, Hallelujah, as we continue our journey in this incredible Joker's card. And until next time, you can follow us on Instagram at Dim Carnival and Twitter at Dim Carnival. Ryan's doing amazing things on Instagram. It's great. I love it. Email us at dimcarnival@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter and all social media at Sundown Motel. And until next time, I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And this has been the Dim Carnival. We're not even rolling yet. Ryan's still got to eat 4 ding-dongs.
You guys talking shit?
Yeah.
Nope. Damn it, Steve. You had one job.